So this is a green PAL region DSI XL, shell serial number WEF127266068. I'm going to quickly go over why I gave it the score I did, and just any comments that I come up along the way. So for the physical condition of the shell, I gave it a 1 out of 3, which I say is good. A lot of that is because of this top glossy shell piece. I'll sort of probe my light over it. There's a pretty significant scuff border along the peak of where the glossy shell, it's rounded on the corner where it hits its peak. Also just a lot of surface scratches, some pretty good just nicks and cuts. Let me just go in a little closer here. This is nothing unusual. There's no nicks or heavy scratches in front of the camera lens. But this is just, from what I can tell, just normal wear. Just sliding in and out of pockets, backpacks. It's sort of one of the many flaws of having a glossy shell piece. But this is definitely not the worst shape I've seen, but it is not in fantastic shape either. Around the edges of the console, for the at least top part of it, you can kind of see that same sort of nicking and scraping. Nothing bad along the edge of the console. The glossy shell has definitely taken the brunt of it. You can tell there's just some nicks here and there, scratches. My camera wants to focus. Now along the bottom shell, there's some pretty good marks along the right below the shoulder buttons. Especially the right shoulder button has a pretty good gash on it. The back shell itself is actually in pretty good shape, all things considered. You can tell kind of as I'm probing my light, you can see scratching. They're all very shallow scratches. See some marks on the battery door. Then along here, there's a pretty good pit right there. So not the greatest shape, but not the worst shape either. The two shell pieces on the face are in very good shape. There's no discoloration around the buttons from use. Usually the D-pad will have this ring around it from just friction of a finger going across it just from playtime. And I should also mention that right over here, right next to the LED indicators, there's a good little nick. So that's why I gave that shell such a low score, relatively speaking. Next is the physical condition of the hardware, which is all of the buttons, the screw protectors. The buttons themselves, fantastic shape. I have no problem with any of them. No scratching, nothing that I can tell, or nothing that's of note. The screw covers are in very good shape. I just put them on just a little bit ago, actually. Same with the back. Now, I didn't give it an excellent because when I put these consoles together, I tried to match the shoulder buttons with the shell, which, since the shell is in pretty poor shape, the R button is also in pretty poor shape. It's nothing that impacts the performance of the button. I can't feel those like scuff marks that are on the R button that I'm trying to get to focus on. You can't feel those. Those aren't like gashes or anything. They're just marks. L button isn't as bad. It does have a mark on it. So I would say they're in functional shape. They're not pretty cosmetically, but they work. Next is the physical condition of the screens, which is just the screens themselves, basically just the lenses, or the digitizer in the bottom screen's case. You can already kind of see it. The bottom screen digitizer does have scratches on it. I do have screen protectors on both screens. I am pretty sure that's on the digitizer. I assembled this console quite a while ago, so I'm positive that's not on the screen protector. Those are very light scratches that you don't see when the console's on. There's a scratch right there too as well. Or that might just be a hair underneath the screen protector. Either way, those are definitely scratches. And if you're seeing specks all over these screens, I'm in a rather dusty environment right now, so I'm constantly fighting those particles as they're flying out of nowhere. And there are some of these specks that are underneath the lens. You can't see these when the console are on, which is usually my criteria when I'm trying to put these lenses on, or the lens and the digitizer on. I find it nearly impossible to get everything. Sometimes I'm lucky, sometimes I'm not. So because there's some dust underneath this screen, nothing you can see when the console's on, and because this bottom screen has scratches, I gave it a very good. And then the screen condition, let me turn off my light. I also gave it 2 out of 3 because the top screen, as it probably won't show up in the camera, is slightly more red. And when I say slightly, I mean, well, you can really see it in the camera. Like you can hardly, like if you squint and really look at it, you might be able to see it, but it is very slight. And usually when I'm matching screens, I match them as close as I can. I can never usually get them perfect. Sometimes I can. But all of these screens are so very slightly different that it can be a miracle sometimes. But the way I see it, the top screen is just slightly more red. Once you start playing a game, any type of colorful moving picture, unless you're incredibly sensitive to it, I doubt you'll even be able to see it after a while. So that is why I gave it the condition score that I did.